Hey guys, and welcome on back. I know it's been a while. There's been a lot of things going on lately with just everything, but we're back, ready to show some things off. Got a lot of stuff done, did a lot of things, so wanting to show that off to you guys. So over here, I have now, as you can see, been able to import all the assets that I've been working on for that section of the map for Project Balance. It all came out beautifully, was able to do a lot of the texture work, get that in here, and from afar you can kind of see the ground is kind of tiling a little bit, but that changes when we get into actual gameplay. The tiling kind of disappears and it just looks more organic and more natural. I tried to add some variations to that as well through UV tiling stuff, so we'll get into that too. I just wanted to make sure to show you guys what everything kind of looked like from afar. It looks all really nice. Ignore what's on the trees as of right now. I haven't gotten the actual texture for the trees done yet and finalized. I'm still working on a bit of the branches and the touch ups here and there. But I wanted to get something on there just so that we could see what it looked like, so that we could get a feel for what this overall world is starting to look like for the game. And I'm really enjoying a lot of the textures and a lot of the feels that I'm getting from this game, especially the ground texture, the tree bark texture. We're still working on some bits and pieces of it right now. It's a little too glossy or flat in its normal maps or its roughness. Something about those is just a little too flat. I think we might need to just adjust the roughness map because right now it looks too, I don't know, it looks too rubbery or plastic, I should say. I need to make that maybe a little less powerful and a little more similar to what we have on our ground. So that'll be real easy to do. The rocks look great. The reflections that I'm getting on the rock textures are just how I like, and even the grass. The grass has that beautiful rubber type texture with a little bit of glossiness to it just to add to the reflections or really make the grass pop a little bit more for the player. So that's looking great. And that's what's on the trees right now is just the same grass texture. So that's why it doesn't look correct. So we'll fix that as we get the actual texture on there. But I did want to go over the amazing thing about using substance materials while in the Unreal Engine, because that's super fun to do. So, with the Unreal Engine having, I shouldn't say now, it's had this ability for us to use these textures to be imported from Unreal and be placed into this game engine. What's really nice about it is it creates a lot of the mm, tedious work that we would need to do for us. It kind of does the brunt of the work and gets a lot of that done and makes these material instances that I could easily just, if I ever decided to change up this ground texture a little bit, I can easily just go in here and grab a different base color texture for ground, a different this, a different that, and I could change up the normal maps. I can change up my roughness. I can do all this now with a master texture file. For video games, when you're creating textures take a lot of loading time. And that's what makes a lot of games have these really long load times is their textures are at a certain quality of pixels or density or amount of information that's being placed into them, all that stuff that just adds to the load time. Substance kind of eliminates that, and Unreal even eliminates more of that too when it integrates Substance textures. And what you do for textures as a texture artist as well when you're putting them into the game engine is you try and limit the amount of textures that you're streaming or needing to load into the game. By doing that, you just create a master texture, and then that master is the parent that will hold all these instances of textures. So when the game is loading up this huge scene, it just grabs this one texture and all children or instances of the exact same texture. And for that, it loads up the master, and then every instance after that is quick and easy, and it's just snapping it where it needs to go, and it's done. So that's the really nice part about doing these instances in a game engine with textures too, especially with the Unreal Engine having that all real nice and easy for us. So another thing was talking about how this is another thing where the Unreal Engine makes it so much easier. It already has this UV tiling ability in there for me. And I just kind of randomized it because I didn't want it to look too realistic to the players. But if I go back on all the edits that I have, we save this out, and we take a look at the texture again, you can see that now it's just kind of this one massive texture. Like this is almost close to like not even a pond. This is flooding of a pond or almost a little creek or swamp looking area. But when I go back into here and I increase my UV amount, add a little bit of random rotation, more this way and that way, lower that UV amount some, and then we save this out. We've changed the texture, but already we've made something that has these little ponds everywhere. And when we play the game, it doesn't look like one texture is being tiled all over the place. Because when you start adding in things like rocks to cover up some of that randomness or some of that similarity in the game, it creates more organic, random features to the player's eyes. And for something that the player might not be paying attention to all the time and will be like getting this close to, it looks just fine at the player's standpoint. We'll even play the game and we'll run around in the mannequin view, and you can see it's not that noticeable. It feels just like there's a whole bunch of puddles around this world, a lot of green grass, mossy locations, things like that. Especially when we get to walking around over here, you can see it kind of doesn't read as one texture being used. It reads as just this giant texture that's being placed in multiple different areas, but not in a noticeable way for any players. And that's kind of the fun thing that I like about video games, and when you're designing video games, is that a lot of it is about tricking the player's eye, making them feel like there is more to this location than there really is. And it's not really cheating, it's just using the engine, using the textures, using the tools that we have to our disposal to add more information, to add more cohesive design elements and things like that. It's amazing what it can do. And even if I go over here, I can then I have all these textures over here. I have this source file. I can go into there, and now I have all the information that I made a parameter from the substance file in Designer. I can now change all of those. And when I do that, I create a whole new parent child, a whole new instance child for this texture. And it's really quite nice to do that. I'm not going to do anything here because I like the texture that I have, but later on when I want to create different locations and different worlds, I can just hit random seed, get a random generation of all this information, and I'll have a whole new ground texture for me to use in the game. And that's just the power that I get from using substance files. And a lot of designers use Substance Designer files for that same reason, is you get so much control, so much utility from them, and it makes an amazing location. And the ground texture, it's looking great. From a distance, you can see kind of the, like, if you look above his head or right over here to the left of the tree, you can see kind of the hard triangle type tip to it. I'm hoping to kind of cover those with some actual 3D models, because if I cover those edges, then players won't see that. It'll hide a lot of the things that I've done to kind of cheat. Not, I shouldn't say cheat anymore. To kind of allow myself to use a lower poly count on a 3D model. And of course, as of right now, we can see the edge of this environment. The trees will be a lot more denser and a lot more populated closer together, as well as I'll probably use these leaves to create bushes. I'll create a bush texture for them as well. Because, I mean, honestly, trees just have giant bushes on top. So I can shrink this down and make a bush out of it. And it'll work out perfectly for what I need. So that'll help hide more of the edges of the environment and give us more of a closed in grove or meadow type location like I'm wanting to get, so that when the player fights the wolves in this area, it'll get a really good feel to the environment, and the location will just feel like it's come to life a lot more. So as of right now, I'm absolutely loving what I've got so far for textures, for the quality, the feel for everything, and it's looking great. Already the player is able to, if I can get it, we can jump on top of some of these rocks, get some action on here, and walk through. The trees need a little bit of adjustment on their um, collision boundaries, but I think this actually might work for us because I want the trees to block the player. I want this area to feel like an arena. So having the trees block me all the way out here might actually work to my benefit, so that I can use trees and bushes to kind of block players in and not really always direct players where to go, but just keep the world in areas where I don't need to render this location. So all that's coming along really well. This is seeing textures now in this game and having a Unreal project now started, and really seeing all the work I've done start to happen here is really looking awesome. I'm loving the progress that we have so far. I say we a lot of times, like you guys are helping me to design this. I guess in a way you guys are, because I'm able to like bounce ideas off of a silent audience, which is kind of strange for right now at least. But with that said, more videos to come, more things to add to the channel, and please like, comment, and subscribe. Would love to hear more from you guys. So with all that said, can't wait to get more going with this project. And I'll see you guys always in the next video.